I bet you've never seen a bike build quite like this before. Let's take a look. Hey everybody, Nick from TriRig here. Welcome to a beautiful spring day in sunny Colorado. Today I want to show you this hybrid Aero rig that I put together. I've featured it in the background of a couple of recent videos and some of you have been asking about it, so I thought today we would take a deep dive into what this build is, why I built it this way, and why I actually really like this bike so much. So for starters, you can see that this is kind of just a generic gravel frame. I think I got this on eBay a while ago. It's nothing particularly special, just a kind of an open mold frame that, I checked it out, everything seemed on the up and up, and so I started building it out the way that you see here. The idea was that I wanted something with big old tires that I could easily take off-road a little bit, but not so big and knobby that it would be uncomfortable out on smooth surfaces like regular road riding. So naturally the choice was to get a hybrid gravel frame with disc brakes. Now I recently had a video extolling the virtues of rim brakes in our sport and why they are generally superior to disc brakes, and everything I said in that video is true. But if you want a frame with really big tires for going sort of on a more off-road type of setting, disc brakes can be great. They can also be great for settings in which you expect to have mud caked all over your tires because it's easier to clear the braking surfaces when they're not right at the tires. So we've got a disc brake frame, we have an Aero front end. What is that all about? Well, again, my idea here was to have a bike that I could generally ride the same as my tri-bike, very similar position, and I did everything I could to make it really minimal, really sleek, and really Aero, so that I could comfortably ride in the Aero position, but pretty much go on any kind of surface that I wanted. So let's go around the bike and take a look at things. Up front, as you would expect, we've got the TriRig Alpha 1 Aero bar here. This bar is fantastic because it allows you to so easily adjust your position. As you can see here, there is a single bolt that controls the height of the monopost, and then just two bolts on the top that control continuous tilt adjustment from +17 to -5 degrees. So you get a ton of range of adjustability there. You can put the cups wherever you want them. These are our newer signature scoops. I'm using the open back scoops so that I can move around a little bit depending on the terrain and how I want to sit. These are the Gamma 115 aluminum extensions. I put one of our Kappa cages right between the arms facing backwards for really easy access to hydration. Brake levers are a pair of Shimano TT brake levers, and they're cable actuated. I found what is probably the only cable actuated disc brakes still left on the market and slapped them on this bike. I guess I'm a bit of a dinosaur in that way. I don't want to take the time to bleed these things all the time, or if I want to travel, I want it to be easy to adjust without having gloves and a whole bleed kit and everything like that. Eventually, I'll get into that practice, but not today. So cabled disc brakes and cabled brake levers here. And shifting is a little bit of an interesting animal. What I did was I took a SRAM blip box for the wireless axis shifting system and just put the blip box right at the end of my extensions. So I don't have any cables or wires whatsoever. The entire drivetrain consists of this blip box up front and the rear derailleur in back, and that's it. They're paired, they work flawlessly, there's no routing, there's no cables, no nothing. It's a really great one-by setup, which I love, and it's just about as simple as it can possibly be. SRAM now does have wireless clicks, but I still don't think that the system in total is quite as minimal as I've got it here. And it's not necessarily for weight, and of course running SRAM click wires is relatively simple, but I like the idea of having as few parts as possible in the system, and so this is how I've set up this particular rig. Okay, let's go backwards just a little bit. This bento box is the Bento X by Torhans, and it's serving a couple of purposes here. First, of course, it's a bento box. I can put in some gels or keys or something in there, but its secondary purpose is to act as a cable guide and a way to hide all the cables coming out of the Alpha 1 Aero bar. So I've drilled some holes in this frame so that instead of using the frame holes that are designed with the bike, the cables are entering here at the top tube inside this bento box. And the way they route is out of the Alpha 1 in here, and then they make this funny little S curve to go back. And actually, I think at this point there's only one cable going back to the rear brake. So just the one cable going down, and everything looks super clean and tidy. Now in front, we've got our Delta Aero cover. And this is being mounted a little bit differently from how it's usually mounted. Normally, it clicks into the Aero bar and then is held to the sides of the fork with electrical tape. But I've cut that piece out because it didn't fit with this disc braking setup. So instead, I've got it bolted into the Alpha 1. There are some screws connecting this and this on the inside of the bar, and then everything else was cut off, so it's just hanging freely. But it does a really nice job of hiding the front brake cable as it enters the fork here before it gets in there. So the result of all of that is the cleanest gravel front end that you will probably ever see, and probably one of the only ones with a full Aero setup that makes no apologies for being a totally geeked out tri-bike on a gravel road. So this is a SRAM 48 tooth crank. Again, it's a 1x setup, so it's got the tooth profile for 1x. As we go back, we see the SRAM red rear derailleur. I really like this one. It clears all the teeth in this massive cassette, which I think is an 1136 cassette back there. And I am turning those cranks with our new Mercury SL pedals. I love the locked in feeling of a no float pedal. That's part of why I designed these pedals the way that they are. Commenter on a recent video asked, how is the wear life of the cleats, especially if you're walking on gravel? And the answer is they do a great job because all the wear surfaces are far away from the clamping structure. There's several millimeters of nylon as a buffer before you end up in that clamping zone. For seat, I'm using the ISM Adamo. I don't know what they call this one now, the PN or something. They've got weird names. And our own Beta 45 carrier with the Kappa Saddle SL and our Beta saddle bracket to connect it. I often use dash saddles on my builds, but I chose to go for the ISM here just for the little bit of extra padding since I'm off-road so often. And that's pretty much it. This is the rig. I really love it. It's a ton of fun to ride, and it gets me excited and out on the trail. That's about it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.